Have you ever seen artwork that looks like this, where it looks like the artist has scratched through a dark surface to reveal either white lines or a colorful background? If so, the artist probably has used something called scratch art. In this video, I'll show you how you can make your own do-it-yourself scratch art. What you'll need is to have a layer of bright colors with a darker layer over top. I have an example here of some different techniques you can use, and what I'm going to do is demonstrate for each. So for the first one, I'm going to layer brightly colored crayons down first. Then I'll layer my black crayon over top of it. For the next one, I'm going to experiment with oil pastels if you have them. They're a little bit more soft and blendable. I will do a layer of what color I want with a darker layer on top. I'm going to go with black over top of it to cover it all up. Next, I'm going to use marker as my base and then put crayon on top. Here I'm going to put a layer of marker down first, and then I will put my oil pastel over top of it. I'm going to do the oil pastel, and then I'll do a layer of crayon, and I'll show you how to put the paint on top if you do have paint that you can access. If you do have paint, oftentimes people will recommend mixing a little bit of soap, just a little dot, like a nickel size, with the paint, either tempera or acrylic. And that will help the paint not to flake when you are scratching it. You can brush it over top. Once the paint is dry, you're ready to scrape off your scratch art. Now the ones with dry materials, you don't have to wait. I'm going to test out the crayon on crayon first. And as far as scratching materials go, you can either use a tack or a paper clip. You can even use a pen or a pencil if it's a mechanical pencil and you retract the tip. That way you can just scratch without worrying about writing on your art either. All you're going to do is lightly scrape off your layer of the black crayon or whatever color you put on top to reveal your color beneath. You can test out long strokes, short strokes, squiggles, zigzags, see how it works. I like the paper clip because it's a little bit thicker. The crayon on crayon works really well. Let's try the oil pastel on oil pastel. Here you can see all my examples of the scratch art techniques. As you can see, the marker doesn't show up quite as well as the waxier materials. The crayon on crayon works pretty well. The paint works great as long as you let it dry. You can see here I didn't let this dry and it sort of chipped away. But that shows a really vibrant contrast between your dark base and then the bright underneath. But if you don't have paint, either the oil pastel or the crayon will work out great. When you're ready to start your own scratch art, make sure you have a nice piece of thick paper. And I'll just make a little example here. And you'll start with your colored base like normal, and I'll use crayon for this. As you're coloring your background, think about what you want your design to be. If you have an idea, you can plan out the colors and the patterns or the textures to go with what you're going to scratch away. As you can see here, I finished my base layer of crayon, and now I'm going to take a oil pastel or a crayon over top to color up my design. You don't have to use black, but it will show the richest contrast. Does take a lot of work, but it is totally worth it to take your time, take a break if your arm gets tired. You can still see some of the color through, but you'll be surprised at how beautiful your scratch art looks once you scratch things away. If you want to draw out lightly your design, you can use a pencil and that will sort of scratch things through, or you can just start scratching. I'm going to think about things that bring light into a dark world, or hope into a hopeless world, or joy into a world that needs joy. So you can think of a theme like that, or get creative with textures and lines that you create yourself. One thing to remember is that you're scratching away the light part, the things that are brighter and lighter. Oftentimes when we think of drawing, we think of drawing darker sections. But I'm going to think in reverse and actually start scratching away what I want to be light. I can use the curved part of my paper clip to scrape off some of bigger sections as well if I'd like. Have fun experimenting with your own textures and lines through your own homemade scratch art, and experiment with showing the light parts of your drawing instead of the dark parts as well.